السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه، وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد, we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala abundantly, and we ask Allah to exalt the mention, grant peace, send His blessings and salutations upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Brothers and sisters, we are about to embark on a new journey, and this journey begins with the Tafseer of Soorah An-Naml. And Soorah An-Naml is a Meccan surah that has a lot of stories and a lot of lessons for us to reflect on. As you know, Allah Azza wa Jal already instructed us in the Quran and taught us that in their stories there's a ibrah. لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي قَصَصِهِمْ عِبْرَةٌ. Verily, in their stories is a reminder, there's a lesson, there's a morale. مَا كَانَ حَدِيثًا يُفْتَرَى. It is not an invented story that you just narrate for the sake of entertaining the people. The stories that we find within the cover of the Quran, from the front to the back cover, are stories that we are supposed to not just study and reflect on, but also we need to find connections of how to benefit and implement certain aspects of these stories in our daily lives, in our modern civilization. So whenever you come across a story in the Book of Allah, do not treat it as something inferior to other ayat which speak about other topics. Rather, every time you read it, even though you might have read it many times, look at how you could benefit and how you could learn something new from the same surah you recited in the past. Number one. Number two, let us remind ourselves and each other about the rights of the children. And you might say, what rights of the children are you talking about in the introduction of Surah An-Naml? Well, that is because there are some Muslims, may Allah forgive us and forgive them, out of ignorance, when they want to name their children, they name their children by opening a random page in the Quran, and whatever word their eyes fall upon, then they name their children according to that. And that's why there have been people who name their children An-Naml and another one An-Nahl. So they've named their child ants, and the other one named their child, the other family named them bees. And that is something that is unacceptable. And it is the right of the child to be granted a good name that people will not mock them for or make fun of them because of it when they grow up. Similarly, people sometimes come up with names just so that they can be unique and stand out, which entail harming the child by giving him an unacceptable name Islamically. So be wary of that. If Surah An-Naml means ants, that is not an appropriate name for a child. So without further ado, and sadly Mussab is not available to recite today because of some technical difficulties we are facing. I know you don't, you prefer to hear him recite, and so do I. But inshallah ta'ala, we will deal with that by next class. For now, just bear with me in my standard reading of the ayat. Until then, يعني inshallah you're benevolent enough to accept that. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. And of course, always remember, before you recite the book of Allah, you begin with ta'awudh. And you only say basmala when you are beginning a surah. So it's a mistaken behavior where people, when they want to recite an ayah, they begin by saying Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and then they recite something from the middle of the Quran. Hal ataka hadithu Musa. You may not say that. You cannot begin an ayah by basmala without doing ta'awudh first. And you don't need to do basmala unless it is the beginning of a surah, like right now in Surah An-Naml. طاسين تلك آيات القرآن وكتاب مبين هدى وبشرى للمؤمنين الذين يقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة وهم بالآخرة هم يوقنون إن الذين لا يؤمنون بالآخرة زينا لهم أعمالهم فهم يعمهون أولئك الذين لهم سوء العذاب وهم في الآخرة هم الأخسرون وإنك لتلقى القرآن من لدن حكيم عليم. Tasin, these are the verses of the Quran and a clear book as guidance and good tidings for the believers who establish prayer and give zakah, and of the hereafter they are certain. Indeed, for those who do not believe in the hereafter, we have made pleasing to them their deeds, so they wander blindly. Those are the ones for whom there will be the worst of punishment, and in the hereafter, they are the greatest losers. And indeed, O Muhammad, you receive the Quran from one wise and knowing. طيب. The Sheikh Abdul Rahman bin Nasir al-Sa'di alayhi rahmatullah says in his commentary on these noble ayat, ينبه تعالى عباده على عظمة القرآن. Allah Azza wa Jal draws his slaves' attention to the greatness of the Quran. ويشير إليه إشارة دالة على التعظيم. And Allah Azza wa Jal signals regarding the Quran, a signal which indicates exaltedness. فقال تلك آيات القرآن وكتاب مبين أي هي أعلى الآيات وأقوى البينات وأوضح الدلالات وأبينها على أجل المطالب وأفضل المقاصد وخير الأعمال وأزكى الأخلاق. ما شاء الله تبارك الله. It is the most lofty of ayat and the strongest of evidences and the strongest of clear proofs and the most crystal clear evidences about the most noble of objectives and the best intents and the greatest of deeds and the most noble of character. آيات تدل على الأخبار الصادقة والأوامر الحسنة. آيات تدل على الأخبار الصادقة والأوامر الحسنة والنهي عن كل عمل وخيم وخلق ذميم. These are ayat which indicate all of the truthful news and all of the wonderful or all of the excellent commandments and prohibitions, and also it prohibits every blameworthy deed and every evil trait. آيات بلغت في وضوحها وبيانها للبصائر النيرة مبلغ الشمس للأبصار. Ayat which have reached in its clarity and its transparency, it has reached the point of what the sun resembles for the eyesight. Meaning, when you look at the sun, it's overwhelming, and you shouldn't look at the sun. But when you glance the sun, the clarity and the strength of the sun is so overwhelming, it's something that you cannot avoid, you cannot deny, you cannot dismiss. And just like the sun is so vividly and exclusively and profoundly in your face, so are the evidences and the truth contained within the evidences from the Quran and obviously the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. To the believer, that those evidences are that clear, like the sun is that clear for the person who looks at it. آيات دلت على الإيمان ودعت للوصول إلى الإيقان وأخبرت عن الغيوب الماضية والمستقبلة على طبق ما كان ويكون. Ayat which guide you towards faith, and it invites you to reach certainty, and it informed you about the past and the present in agreement with what has happened and what will happen. آيات دعت إلى معرفة الرب العظيم. Ayat which invite you to know and learn and identify and have knowledge of the great Lord. بأسمائه الحسنى, the one who has the most beautiful, the most excellent names. وصفاته العليا, and the most noble attributes. وأفعاله الكاملة, and the best complete actions. آيات عرفتنا برسله وأوليائه ووصفتهم حتى كأننا ننظر إليهم بأبصارنا. Ayat which introduced to us his messengers and his righteous slaves and described them to us as though we are looking at them with our own eyes. That's how vivid and clear is the message of the Quran. And that's how you deal with the Quran. That's how you interact with the Quran. ولكن مع هذا, yet in spite of that, surprise, لم ينتفع بها كثير من العالمين. بسم الله. A lot of the world, a lot of the people in the world did not benefit from it. ولم يهتدي بها جميع المعاندين, and they were not guided by it, all of those stubborn ones. صونا لها عن من لا خير فيه ولا صلاح ولا زكاء في قلبه. Allahu Akbar. Look how the Shaykh looks at this one. He says, as means of preserving the Quran from those people that have no khair in them and no rectification, and there's no purity in their heart. So it's as though the Quran is being preserved and protected and maintained against individuals that are not worthy, to be followers of the Quran. You see the twist? You speak to the average person today and they will tell you that, the Quran is not effective enough to guide those people, so we have to look outside of the realm of the Quran and the Sunnah. Yeah, Sujood, please stop with the hearts. It's a distraction. Please, no need to spam the thing. May Allah bless you. Don't spam the comments. Right? So they see, I lost the point I was saying. Allah musta'an. Yo, can you just block this person, please? Allah musta'an. So they say that it's not enough, while the way the Shaykh is saying it is that the Quran is so good that those people who are not worthy are just simply not given access to it. You understand? So someone, for example, in the comments told me, I want to see you try to invite Richard Dawkins to Islam. Basically, they're belittling our non-philosophical approach to the Quran and the Sunnah, or to Islam. We're not intellectual enough, and we're not well versed in the realms of science and scientific proofs and scientific evidences and philosophical arguments and philosophical principles and blah blah blah. So they're looking at us, me or others, by being the same category of people, that if we were to face someone like Richard Dawkins, that we will not be able to cope with this giant intellectual, and that we will not be able to deliver the message of Islam to him because we're not equipped with the skill set that is needed for that. And I just laugh at this, because who in the world is Richard Dawkins in the first place? Like, why would I even care about some dude named Richard Dawkins? Why do we have to magnify the biggest enemies of Allah? Why do we have to give those nobodies any status? May he never accept the truth if it's presented to him. What harm does that do Islam? Or does that do the da'wah? Or does that do the da'i? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. It is sick to think that in order to persuade him, you need to get a philosopher Muslim. Like, you can't just be a regular da'i Muslim. You have to be a philosopher Muslim to persuade him. You think this person is looking for evidences to be persuaded? You really don't know that those individuals reject the truth in spite of them knowing it? They're just like any other atheist, except that those are more evil. So getting to them is even more challenging, because they have a higher level of stubbornness and arrogance. Not that there's any lack of evidence within the Quran and the Sunnah. على كل حال, that's besides the point. وإنما اهتدى بها من خصهم الله بالإيمان واستنارت. Who removed the share screen? What? Okay. وإنما اهتدى بها من خصهم الله بالإيمان واستنارت بذلك قلوبهم وصفت سرائرهم. Rather, the only ones who were guided, that Allah Azza wa Jal specified and selected for Iman, and those whose hearts have illuminated with this, and their sara'ir, their secrets, meaning their inside most private thoughts, are safat. Safat meaning they were pure. Meaning people that are pure within, those are the ones who are guided by the truth. Those are the ones who are guided by the truth, not the people that have some other thing going on there. فلهذا قال, that's what Allah said, هدى وبشرى للمؤمنين أي تهديهم إلى سلوك الصراط المستقيم. It is guidance and glad tidings for the believers, meaning it will guide them to travel and to remain and to be firm upon the path, the straight path. وتبين لهم ما ينبغي أن يسلكوه ويتركوه, and it clarifies for them what is it that they're supposed to take up and what is it that they're supposed to abandon and leave behind. وتبشرهم بثواب الله, and it gives them glad tidings of the reward of Allah. المرتب على الهداية لهذا الطريق, the one that is basically a consequence or a ramification or a result of being guided to the true path. ربما قيل لعله يكثر مدعو الإيمان فهل يقبل من كل أحد ادعى أنه مؤمن ذلك. It could be said that maybe the claimants of faith are many. The claimants to faith are many, meaning many people claim to be believers. So would it be accepted from everyone who makes that claim? Anyone who makes the claim that he's a believer is accepted? أم لا بد لذلك من دليل وهو الحق, or should there be an evidence, proof that they're real believers and that is the truth? فلذلك بين تعالى صفة المؤمنين. That's why Allah Azza wa Jal gave us a quality. Allah described for us the quality of the believers. فقال, so Allah said, الذين يقيمون الصلاة فرضها ونفلها, those who establish the salah, the obligatory and the voluntary. فيأتون بأفعالها الظاهرة من أركانها وشروطها وواجباتها. So they fulfill the external aspects of the salah pertaining to its pillars and its conditions and its obligatory acts. بل ومستحباتها وأفعالها الباطنة, rather also the voluntary recommended aspects of the salah, and most importantly the internal, وهو الخشوع, and that is submissiveness. الذي هو روحها ولبها, the one that is the soul and the essence of salah. باستحضار قرب الله وتدبر ما يقوله المصلي ويفعله, and that happens by bringing to mind the nearness of Allah and reflecting, the person engaging in salah reflecting on what he does and what he says. ويؤتون الزكاة المفروضة لمستحقها أو لمستحقها, and they give the zakah, the obligatory one, to its deserving entity. It's very important that you give the zakah to those who are qualified to receive the zakah. وهم بالآخرة هم يوقنون أي قد بلغ معهم الإيمان إلى أن وصل إلى درجة اليقين, and they have certainty in the life to come, meaning their iman has reached the point of yaqeen, meaning they don't just have iman بالشيء بل عندهم الإيقان بالشيء, and iqan or yaqeen is a level above merely believing. You have 100% certainty, undoubtful. You are undoubtful, unspeculative about any aspect of the religion. وهو العلم التام الواصل إلى القلب الداعي للعمل, and that is that profound, deep knowledge that reaches the heart and then forces you or engages you to get involved in doing deeds. ويقينهم بالآخرة يقتدي كمال سعيهم لها. And their certainty regarding the akhirah necessitates how hard they strive for it. وحذرهم من أسباب العذاب وموجبات العقاب, and how wary they are of the reasons which may bring about the punishment of Allah and that which necessitates the torment. وهذا أصل كل خير, and this is the fundamental principle of every good. This is the fundamental principle behind every type of good. إن الذين لا يؤمنون بالآخرة ويكذبون بها ويكذبون من جاء بإثباتها. Those who do not believe in the akhirah, those who do not believe in the akhirah, and they belie it, and they belie the one who brings it. زينا لهم أعمالهم فهم يعمهون حائرين مترددين مؤثرين سخط الله على رضاه. أعوذ بالله. They are lost, they are reluctant, and they are favoring the anger of Allah. They choose the favor of Allah over His pleasure. They choose the anger of Allah over His pleasure. قد انقلبت عليهم الحقائق. The matters have been turned upside down for them. فرأوا الباطل حقا والحق باطلا. So they saw the batil, they saw the falsehood as truth, and the truth as falsehood. They saw the falsehood as truth, and the truth as falsehood. And how many of those do we have today? Oh, we have them in the dozens. Just look at these little shorts that we're putting out there about the Aqidah of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, the Ash'ari trigger. What do you know what happened? You know what were the results of those short clips? Y'all don't even believe, man. The amount of debates happening in the comment section with real life Ash'ira is mind-boggling. They've lost the plot. They're losing their mind. Some of them straight up pass takfir on us for simply maintaining what the Quran and the Sunnah teach. Wallah, we're not even going an inch away from the Quran and the Sunnah. We're using the words Allah used, and we're using the narrations that the Prophet ﷺ used. We're not going away from that an inch. They don't use what Allah said or what the Quran said. They tell you Al-Imam Al-Tahawi, Al-Imam Madrimin, and they attribute things to Abu Hanifa that he never said. And they bring you some scholar 400 or 500 years after who said that Allah is neither here nor there nor da. And then they say you're doing kufr by claiming that Allah Azza wa Jalla is above the throne, or that Allah has hands, or the smart ones among them, they say you're speaking English. Allah didn't say anywhere in the Quran that He has hands. Allah said yad. Like, really? Our whole conversation is in English. Then according to you, you can never give da'wah to any non-Arab. According to them, you can never give da'wah to non-Arab, because now you're going to have to use English language or some other vehicle of communication to deliver the message. But according to you, Allah didn't say any of those. You cannot say it's Allah the one who's unique in His oneness. For example, Qul huwallahu ahad. According to them, you can't translate that either. And the list goes on, the list goes on. But this is a prime example of people that see the falsehood as truth and the truth as falsehood. So we maintain legitimacy by adhering to the words of Allah and the words and the descriptions of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ concerning his Lord, which are in agreement with what the Sahaba believe, because they didn't say anything that contradicted that. You know? And just say this to the people, see what kind of reaction you get. أولئك الذين لهم سوء العذاب. أولئك الذين لهم سوء العذاب. أي أشده وأسوأه وأعظمه. They will have the greatest, the most severe, and the most painful, and the worst punishment. وهم بالآخرة هم الأخسرون. And in the life to come, they are the losers. حصر الخسارة فيهم. Allah Azza wa Jal Allah made loss exclusive to them. لكونهم خسروا أنفسهم وأهليهم يوم القيامة. Because they have lost themselves and their families on the day of resurrection. وخسروا الإيمان الذي دعتهم إليه الرسل. And they have further lost the iman which the messengers have invited them to. وإنك لتلقى القرآن من لدن حكيم عليم. Allahu Akbar. And indeed you receive the Quran from one wise and knowing. أي وإن هذا القرآن الذي ينزل عليك. Verily this Quran which is being sent down upon you. وتتلقنه ينزل من عند حكيم, and you are learning it, it is coming down to you from one who is wise. يضع الأشياء مواضعها. He places things in their appropriate places. He places things in their appropriate place. وإذا كان من عند حكيم خبير. Did we lose connection? No. And if it is indeed from one who is wise and knowing, علم أنه كله حكمة ومصالح للعباد من الذي أعلم بمصالحهم منهم. It is known therefore that it is all wisdom and that which is beneficial for the slaves, because it is from one who knows what is best suitable for them, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So whatever rulings you find within the Quran and the Sunnah, whatever choice of words Allah Azza wa Jal revealed onto us, all of those are coming from one who is most wise and who knows the outcome of things. Right. Let's not have any side discussions, ya akhwan, until the class is over. May Allah bless you. Let us all calm down and relax. That is not how you acquire knowledge. You don't acquire knowledge by discussing and sidetracking and distracting yourself and others from the subject matter. There's a dedicated time for Q&A. During that time, bi'idhnillahi azza wa jal, we will try to entertain as many of your questions as possible. Until then, please, for your own good, focus on what is being taught and also spare others and give them a chance to focus, because I read and I'm sure others read as well, and you've basically distracted everybody. It is not fair. So my brothers and sisters, hang in there and be patient. Refrain from typing anything unless there's an urgent matter. Voice is gone, sound is gone, cameras is off, connection is lost. Other than that, we can all be patient, inshallah. Don't give salam, don't return salam, nothing. Let's have a peaceful moment, bi'idhnillah. Right. Now we're going to go into the first story that appears in Surah An-Naml. No problem, Habibi, no problem. إذ قال موسى لأهله إني آنست نارا سآتيكم منها بخبر أو آتيكم بشهاب قبس لعلكم تصطلون. Mention when Moses said to his family, indeed I have perceived the fire. I will bring you from there information, or will bring you a burning torch that you may warm yourselves. فلما جاءها نودي أن بورك من في النار ومن حولها وسبحان الله رب العالمين. But when he came to it, he was called, blessed is whoever is at the fire and whoever is around it, and exalted is Allah, Lord of the worlds. يا موسى إنه أنا الله العزيز الحكيم. O Moses, indeed it is I, Allah the exalted, the wise. وألق عصاك فلما رآها تهتز كأنها جان ولا مدبرا ولم يعقب. يا موسى لا تخف إني لا يخاف لدي المرسلون. And he was told, throw down your staff. But when he saw it writhing as if it were a snake, he turned in flight and did not return. Allah said, O Moses, fear not, indeed in my presence the messengers do not fear. إلا من ظلم ثم بدل حسنا بعد سوء فإني غفور رحيم. Otherwise, he who wrongs then substitutes good after evil, indeed I am forgiving and merciful. وأدخل يدك في جيبك تخرج بيضاء من غير سوء في 9 آيات إلى فرعون وقومه إنهم كانوا قوما فاسقين. And put your hand into the opening of your garment, it will come out white without disease. These are among the 9 signs you will take to Pharaoh and his people. Indeed, they have been a people defiantly disobedient. فلما جاءتهم آياتنا مبصرة قالوا هذا سحر مبين. But when there came to them our visible signs, they said, this is obvious magic. وجحدوا بها واستيقنتها أنفسهم ظلما وعلوا فانظر كيف كان عاقبة المفسدين. Very important ayah. And they rejected them while their inner selves were convinced thereof, out of injustice and haughtiness. So see how was the end of the corruptors. This last ayah, ayah number 14, is one of the most fundamental ayat for you to study and understand when giving da'wah. And whenever you deal with other opponents, bring this ayah to mind. I'm not going to go ahead of myself now. We're going to get there, but I'm just giving you heads up so you can be on the lookout for the significance of this ayah in the context of giving da'wah to the disbelievers to Islam or even the misguided Muslims. يعني اذكر هذه الحالة الفاضلة الشريفة من أحوال موسى ابن عمران ابتداء الوحي إليه واصطفائه برسالته وتكليم الله إياه. Mention this noble, honorable condition from the conditions of Musa the son of Imran, where in the beginning of revelation happened, and his selection with the messengership, and the fact that Allah Azza wa Jal spoke to him directly. وذلك أنه لما مكث في مدين عدة سنين, and that is when he remained in Madian for many years. وسار بأهله من مدين متوجها إلى مصر, and he moved and he traveled with his family from Madian going towards Egypt. فلما كان في أثناء الطريق, when he was on the way there, ضل, he got lost. وكان في ليلة مظلمة باردة, and it was a very cold dark night. فقال لهم, so he said to them, إني آنست نارا, أي أبصرت نارا من بعيد, I see some fire from a distance. سآتيكم منها بخبر عن طريق, I will get some information about how to find our way back. أو آتيكم بشهاب قبس لعلكم تصطلون, أي تستدفئون, or I will bring you some fire so you can be warm. وهذا دليل على أنه تائه ومشتد برده وأهله. This was an evidence that he was lost and that he was very cold, him and his family, his wife يعني. فلما جاءها نودي أن بورك من في النار ومن حولها, أي ناداه الله تعالى وأخبره أن هذا محل مقدس مبارك. So Allah Azza wa Jal, when he got there, Allah Azza wa Jal called on him, Allah called him, and he told him that this is a blessed and sacred place. ومن بركته, and from its blessings, أن جعله الله موضعا لتكليم الله لموسى وندائه وإرساله, that Allah made this place the place wherein Allah spoke to Musa and he called on him and he made him a messenger. وسبحان الله رب العالمين عن أن يظن به نقص أو سوء. الله أكبر. And subhanallah, how perfect is Allah above any imperfection, the Lord of the worlds. But what is that supposed to mean? Subhanallah meaning, how perfect is Allah above anyone having any evil or negative or a thought of deficiency regarding him. بل هو الكامل في وصفه وفعله, rather he is the most perfect in his description and his actions. يا موسى إنه أنا الله العزيز الحكيم, أي أخبره الله أنه الله المستحق للعبادة وحده لا شريك له. Allah told them that he is the only one who deserves worship and he has no partners. كما في الآية الأخرى, as in the other ayah, إني أنا الله لا إله إلا أنا فاعبدني وأقم الصلاة لذكري. Verily I am Allah, there's no God worthy of worship but me, so worship me and establish the salah for my remembrance. Al-Aziz الذي قهر جميع الأشياء, the mighty one who has subdued all things. وأذعنت له كل المخلوقات, and all creatures are subservient to him. Al-Hakim في أمره وخلقه, he is the most wise in his command and his creation. ومن حكمته أن أرسل عبده موسى بن عمران, and from his wisdom is that he sent forth his slave Musa, the son of Imran. الذي علم الله منه أنه أهل لرسالته وحي وتكليمه, the one whom Allah had known beforehand that he is worthy of his message and his revelation and Allah speaking to him. ومن عزته, and from Allah's might, أن تعتمد عليه ولا تستوحش من انفرادك, that you rely on him and don't feel odd because of your loneliness. وكثرة أعدائك وجبروتهم, and because of the abundance of your enemies and their transgression. فإن نواصيهم بيد الله وحركاتهم وسكونهم بتدبيره, because all of their foreheads are in the hand of Allah, and their movements and their lack of movements, all of it falls under the arrangement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For all of this that is happening, and this is a reminder for not just Musa, but for anyone who is in Musa's position, right? Meaning, Bismillah, sometimes you feel as though the whole world is against you, right? You feel like the whole world is against you. I know a lot of people that are the sole practicing individuals in their family. brothers and sisters who are the only practicing individuals in their family, my heart goes out to them. My heart goes out to them. My dua goes out to them. My support goes out to them, because you cannot even imagine how difficult it would be, and it is, to be the only practicing, adhering person in your family, where your mother's against you, your father's against you, your siblings are against you, your uncles and aunties are against you, the entire family is against you. They see you as a freak, they see you as an extremist, they see you as a fundamentalist, they see you as someone who is unintelligent, someone who's backwards, someone who's uncool, unhip, unfit, and the list goes on of names and titles. This is just what they believe. Let's not go and discuss, or we can go and discuss what they say, what they verbalize. It's one thing that the people feel like this towards you, and you can see it, you can sense it, even though their lips are closed. You know that's how they feel. It's another thing and a whole nother level when you have to deal with actually hearing those ideas being verbalized in front of you day in and day out, night and day, 24/7. May Allah make it easy for you. But remember, لَكَ اللَّهُ وَلَكِ اللَّهُ يَا أَمَةَ اللَّهِ. For you is Allah. For you is Allah. Don't wait for the people. Don't wait for the family. Don't wait for the support. Allah is sufficient for you. Allah is sufficient for you. And if Allah doesn't aid you, وبعدين, if Allah doesn't aid you and give you victory in this dunya, then Allah Azza wa Jal will aid you and give you victory in the life to come. So hang in there and be patient. Hang in there and be patient. And do not reciprocate their evil with evil. Rather, try to be a good example. Try to be dutiful to your parents in spite of them opposing your adherence to Islam. Try to keep the kinship ties in spite of your family trying to sever it. Try to not return insults with insults. Be the better person. I know it's difficult. We all have that challenge. Nevertheless, that is the noble objective that we should seek. But here we're learning from this that you might have a lot of enemies. And the same thing in da'wah. We could apply this also to the da'wah field. You're just promoting Islam, Orthodox Islam. We don't want to belong to a group. We don't want to belong to a sect. We don't want to go overboard. We don't want to be extremists. We don't promote anything that we see is off. Allah is our witness that from our perspective, we're trying to be as fair and just as possible. We're honestly, sincerely trying to promote the clearest, most straightforward version of Islam. And what do you get in return? Every type of name and insult and people putting you down. Either you spoke about their favorite sheikh or their favorite speaker, or you called out some innovation, or you called out some act of shirk, or you called out some deviance in the belief of in the aqidah of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. I mean, any one of these you do, you find yourself being attacked from every angle by so many people that are Muslims. Muslims, the first one with a knife to your neck, hey, you say, subhanallah. Why? If you call to the way of the Salaf, then those who are also calling to the way of the Salaf, but they don't see eye to eye with you, they cancel you. The Maturidis and the Deobandis and the Sufis obviously canceled you. The Shia, by default, canceled you. The modernists canceled you, the liberalists canceled you, the feminists canceled you. Everybody's canceling you, and you're like, you have all these enemies, and these enemies like, yo, what happened? What happened? Why are we at odds? Why are we fighting? What did I do? Ya Jamaat al-Khair, what did I do? Not just me, a lot of people like me. And you go through this with your people around you, like, I'm just saying Quran and Sunnah with the understanding of the Sahaba. Is this a crime nowadays? Is it a crime? Oh, it is. Bada al-Islamu ghariban. Islam began strange. وَسَيَعُودُ غَرِيبًا كَمَا بَدَأَ, and it will go back to being strange just like when it first started. فَطُوبَى لِلْغُرَبَاء, so give glad tidings to the strangers. And there are many wordings of this hadith. Some of them to the effect الَّذِينَ يَصْلُحُونَ أَوْ يُصْلِحُونَ إِذَا فَسَدَ النَّاسِ, those who will rectify when the people become corrupt. Those who will adhere to this noble path of the Sahaba and the early generations. When people are all over the place, they go on left and right and up and down. We hope and pray that Allah Azza wa Jal will accept us among those strangers, even though our efforts are minimal, our output is small, our whatever we've done is nothing, wallah, is nothing on the scale of what the scholars of this ummah have done in the past, the amount of khair that the righteous predecessors have left for us. What we are not even a drop in the sea of those righteous people. But we hope and pray with Allah's benevolence and vast mercy and love for the followers of His Prophet ﷺ, that He will include us among those people that belong to these strangers who are holding on to a burning coal in this day and time, where the enemies are many, and as they say, when the camel falls, the stabbers are many. As soon as you fall, so many people will jump on to stab you, capitalizing on the opportunity that you have fallen here and there. So hang in there, hang in there. It's a tough situation we're living in, but as long as you always remember that this dunya versus the akhirah is not worth the wing of a mosquito to Allah, then you're good to go. Always remember, after all this drama and all this going on, all this fighting and bickering and all that, this huge scene of non-stop drama, all of this is not worth to Allah the wing of a mosquito. And if you enter Jannah when it's said and done, then Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. It does not matter. We don't want to, however, make the wrong religious choices that will make us disqualify from being from the people of paradise, because then we would have a problem in the dunya and we would have a problem in the akhirah. Wallah al-musta'an. طيب. With this, inshallah, we will conclude. Bi-idhnillahi, next week we will begin the discussion on the ayat pertaining to Alqi Asak and the conversation which will happen between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Musa alayhi as-salatu was-salam. I think I went I went off track a little bit, which is fine. And we will see what Q&As you guys have in the pipeline. It's 2:17. You really asking in the middle of the class? Wow. Are we allowed to believe in minor evolution? Yes. If what you mean by minor evolution, that Allah allows certain creatures to evolve a certain way. For example, humans were huge, we shrunk. Or certain animals may adapt to the environment in order to survive. Yes, we believe in this kind of evolution. There's no issue. But be careful and make sure you draw the line between that belief and the belief that we've evolved from, obviously, apes. And I know this is clear, but I have to express it just in case somebody eventually makes a clip and attributes to me what I don't believe or what I have not said. So no, we don't believe in evolution, i.e. we were apes and we became humans, but we can believe that within the creation of Allah, yes, things evolve a certain way to adapt, and it's all within the command of Allah. It doesn't evolve independent of Allah. It evolves by Allah's command and permission. Now, if a person has psychological issues due to childhood trauma because of his parents constantly fighting and he is sent to a psychiatrist, but his parents tell him not to inform the psychiatrist that they were fighting as it will make them look bad, does he have to obey that? Tough one. I can't give you a fatwa. But I will give you advice. Okay, I cannot give you a fatwa, but I will give you advice. My advice is, don't go to a psychiatrist in the first place. Okay, so my advice is obey your parents and don't tell a psychiatrist jack. Reality is most people have been traumatized in their childhood one way or another. And the reality is you just have to man up. You just have to be strong, seek Allah's guidance, seek Allah's help to overcome those things. Going to a shrink and sitting there and paying them and having these sessions with them where they talk to you and you talk to them and you wind up exposing sins and telling stories and backbiting your entire family. And so they could tell you what at the end. I mean, I know it's a science, but those things I personally I have a hard time digesting. Like, what are they going to tell you at the end? Oh, okay. Oh, so your parents fought. Okay. So, yeah. And you're like, oh, I feel so much better now that I said this to the psychiatrist. And so now you're ready to move on with your life and get over it. I mean, what? They're going to give you a medication to fix that trauma? What is that supposed to mean? Like, don't you know already that people go through trauma? The Prophet ﷺ, son died, Ibrahim, and he cried over the death of his son. You could call this a traumatizing experience. Hey, what did Prophet ﷺ do? What did he do? He worshipped his Lord. That's my advice. Allahu A'lam. Now, Alhamdulillah. What is your response to someone who declares Sheikh Munajjid as an Ikhwani Khariji innovator and overlooks all the good that he has done in Salafi realm because of one mistake of the Sheikh? My response to him is that that's an extreme position. Sheikh Munajjid has a lot of good, and his website is one of the most beneficial websites in the Ummah. He has made some statements in support of some of the works of Sayyid Qutb that I personally disagree with. There are some fatwa on the website that I disagree with, but that is to be highlighted. So our job is to highlight those mistakes so that people can be wary of them and can be careful of them, but it does not dismiss or cancel the person out completely. Because right now, if you also want to learn the Aqeedah of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah in regards to every matter, you will also find it on the same website of the Sheikh. So what are you talking about? His certain positions he had are wrong, just like many mashayikh had erroneous positions, and it's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. I personally don't think that this is enough to cancel him out and make him an innovator. At the same time, we cannot say, oh Allah, because we like him and his website is beneficial, so we act like it's all gravy and we don't highlight those mistakes. No, the truth is above and beyond everyone. Wallahu a'lam. Next. Can I listen to Ahmed Musa Jibril? No, I don't know who Ahmed Musa Jibril is. I've heard of him, but I don't know enough about him. I know there's question marks regarding his name, but I don't have enough information right now to be able to say anything. So I'll just be quiet. Next. What's with all the people questions? Is all black clothing at times allowed? And are boots above the ankle meet or cover the pants a bit allowed? Okay, wait. First of all, I'm not familiar with any prohibition that regarding wearing black. I mean, I'm wearing black right now in front of you. So yeah, you could wear black clothing. Why wouldn't it be allowed? Why would not be allowed? Boots above the ankle meet or cover the pants a bit allowed. The boots are above the ankle. The boots are irrelevant. What you're wearing from the bottom up is irrelevant to the ankles. What matters is what you're wearing from the top down. So any garment, any upper garment that you're wearing should not go beneath your ankles. Whether you're wearing sandals, you're wearing slippers, you're wearing boots, you're wearing flip-flops, you're barefooted, doesn't matter. Whatever the lower garment is, I'm of the opinion it should not go beneath your ankles. Now, how is the active noise cancellation of the Samsung Galaxy Buds Live Ustad? Top notch, unparalleled for those type of earphones, because there's the earphones that are over the head, the one that come with the little, what you call it. Those are expected to have a high quality active noise cancellation because they're covering your entire ear. But the ones that the in-ear type, it's very challenging. And I think the quality of the active noise cancellation on the bud's life is unprecedented. Absolutely beautiful. Worth every penny, inshallah. Now, next. The brothers before us saw the Salaf and the great scholars, and they didn't have to deal with this modern fitna. The brothers after us also might not have to deal with this modern fitna. Fitra? What am I saying? Okay. I don't understand. And will at least see the Mahdi and have great opportunities in the path of Allah. What good is there in our era? Akhi, the Prophet ﷺ said that al-khair, the khair will be in this ummah until yawm al-qiyamah. There will always be khair. لا تزال طائفة من أمتي قائمين على الحق ظاهرين. There will always be a group of my ummah upon the truth, evident in front of the people, and present and available to the people until the Yawm al-Qiyamah. So there's khair, akhi. There's khair in our era. There's khair in every era after the Prophet ﷺ until Yawm al-Qiyamah. Now, next. My teacher was talking about dating, and I told her that Islam forbids dating and permits marriage. Mind you, most of the class is non-Muslim, so I tried to explain in a way they would understand. Okay. Teacher thought that in Saudi you marry without knowing the person. I tried to explain the concept of marriage meeting, saying it's like dating without intimacy. You get to know one another. So what I said, correcting comparing marriage meetings to dating without intimacy with the intention of trying to make them understand the process, I would say no. Jazakallahu khairan for making an attempt and an effort to explain it to them in an easier way, but I think maybe the words failed you. That's just my subjective opinion. It doesn't mean that I'm right and you're wrong. But my subjective opinion is that you would not want to use the term dating without intimacy, because intimacy is usually very, very figurative, very, very graphic. And what happens within dating before intimacy is a lot of haram. And all of these are also haram in Islam. So all of these, love messages back and forth, and all of this flirtatious speech which happens among dating people, you cannot have that with a person that you want to marry. So that's why I think that was not really worded properly, but it's okay. Khair, inshallah. It's better than nothing. Now, if someone falls asleep in the middle of reciting the night adhkar, leaving half of it behind, will they get still full reward because they intend to recite all of it? Insha'Allah ta'ala. Insha'Allah. I'm 30 years old and not married. I'm a handsome boy with a good job and a good family, but still it never works out. I think I'm not destined to get married. I have lost all hope. Do you have any advice? Yeah, my advice is you don't have the right to lose any hope. You do not have any right to lose any hope, because the matter is in the hands of Allah, and marriage is a form of sustenance, like any other sustenance, and it comes to you when it's written for you. Number one. Number two, maybe you're just looking in the wrong place. I don't understand why a handsome boy with a good job and a good family would not be able to find not one wife, rather 4 wives in 3 minutes. You should be able to find 4 wives in 2 minutes. There are ample sisters, plenty of sisters looking for good husbands, looking for a handsome man with a good job. We're assuming that you're practicing, obviously, right? So maybe you're just not connected with the right network of people that can, find you those sisters. And your name is Khalid bin Walid. Hey, man, you got it going on, brother. Should be fine, inshallah. Yeah. Maybe it will help you out. Next. يا عم وجدي، انت سخرت مني لما سألتك عن انواع الزيوت اللي تستخدمها. انا بس عايز اخد بالي من لحيتي يا عم الحاج. انا ما سخرتش منك يا ريس. الله ما تزعلش مني يا محمود. حاك عليا محمود، بسحب وجهي. مش فاكر اني سخرت منك يا اخي. اعمل لك، قلت لك زيت البيرد، مين يعرف شو اسمه. في زيوت خاصه باللحيه تشتريها من الامازون، ولا تشتريها من مواقع مش عارف ايش، مواقع الشوبينج، وبس. خف علينا، بلاش بقى حساسيه ومش عارف ايه. يلا اللي بعده. Facebook says that husband logged in on Facebook and interacted with bad pages. Husband denies it. Can Facebook show that you logged in without you using it? What? Facebook says that husband logged in on Facebook? Man, I mean, look, there's so much hacking going on in the world. that doesn't stand as evidence that the husband did anything. Anybody's account, you know how many of my friends had their accounts hacked and I received evil messages from them, that you eventually find out that they were hacked. No, that doesn't stand as an evidence. Look further and stop fetching for people's mistake. It's not normal for a woman, it's not healthy for a woman to be working as a detective and investigating her husband's behavior. It's haram. Haram for her to spy on him. Haram for her to go into his phone without his permission. It's haram for her to be spooky and spying around, trying to catch him slipping. It's haram for her to do all of that. She's bringing misery to herself and a misery to the family and all types of miseries. There are certain things where if he doesn't fear Allah and he's doing something wrong, she's just better off not knowing. Believe me, she's better off in not knowing. And it's a healthier relationship if he's disobeying Allah on his own, then that sin becoming clear and evident for the whole family, and then they have to deal with the drama that comes along with it. That's why this behavior from a sister is not appropriate, nor is it acceptable. Her husband goes to sleep, she goes to this phone, she finds a message that he sent to whatever, then next thing you know, khalas, she's basically looking for a divorce. She's looking for a divorce. Eventually, that's what's going to happen. He's disobeying Allah. He's disobeying Allah. That's between him and Allah. If you happen to know, if you just know on your own, okay, khalas, then it exploded in your face. You can't just pretend that you didn't see it, even though some will tell you to do so. But you actively doing some James Bond, or what is that famous detective from back in the day? Huh, guys? What's the name of that detective from back in the days? The British one? You know? I'm sure somebody's going to know. Hey, Sherlock Holmes, yeah. Sherlock Holmes, yeah. Yeah, well, he wasn't home though. You can't be doing that. Fetching for him and just really, really sick behavior. What do you think his reaction is going to be? What do you think his reaction is going to be? The bare minimum is that he is allowed to have a second wife. Okay? Let's say he has a second wife and for whatever reason he didn't inform his first. Not recommended, but allowed. Not recommended, but allowed. He didn't inform his first wife. And she thinks he's doing haram, and she calls her family and calls her uncle and calls her dad, and she does an expose of him, and the dude was speaking to his wife. What did you gain out of this? You just destroyed your own home. You understand what I'm saying? Anyways, there's a lot more to it. Allah musta'an. Next. Is it permissible to pick one night on the weekend to stay awake all night doing salah, reciting Quran or other deeds since the next day, no school or work? Will it be considered a bid'ah? No, it will not be considered a bid'ah if you don't think that there's any special virtue in that. Meaning, if you're only doing this because that's the only time you have available, that's fine. But don't promote it as though there's a special thing on that day or on that night or in that night or anything like that. No. And don't have something so fixed that you're not flexible with it. Like this many hours or this much this or this much that. Try to be flexible with the situation so that you don't fall into introducing something. Now, am I allowed to make dua from the Quran in Arabic and sujood? For example, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. Absolutely, you are. Now, yeah, Inspector Gadget. That's a good one, Adil. I used to watch Inspector Gadget when I was a kid. Oh, Allah understand. And we will at least see the Mahdi and have. Khalas, we're done with this, ya Hajji. I hear Muslims saying, if you're honest, if you honest, you don't make much money. Or I didn't have any other option but to take this mortgage. Are these not lies against Allah? Please explain the danger of such beliefs. Of course, these are lies against Allah. What do you mean if you're honest, you don't make much money? Allah Azza wa Jal is the provider. Rather, if you are honest, Allah will bless you abundantly. You don't have to be a thief to make money. You just have to be honest. And you could be a thief and make a lot of money that Allah does not put any barakah in it, and you don't really benefit from this money. There's no other option but to take mortgage. Lies. These are all lies. You're not here in this life to live permanently. You're here to live temporarily and die. You don't want to die with a mortgage or a riba or debt in your neck. That's for sure. Next. Hello, Ustad. Hello, Hakeem. There's a sport activity that give extra point for me to continue studying. It seems like ritual, but when I learn about its origin, it's related to sun god and such. Is it halal? No. If that's what it is, then it's not halal. What sun god? Madri ايش. خلي ولي. Next. If one believes that leaving salah is kufr, does he have to make up the wajib fast he missed when he didn't used to pray? No. Salam, brother Wajdi. Wa alaikum salam. I have a question I'm confused about. Okay. You have said that anyone who goes to the grave of Prophet ﷺ and requests anything from him has committed shirk. Okay. There's a narration in Tafseer ibn Kathir regarding Surah An-Nisa where Allah says that if those who wrong themselves came to Prophet and asked him to ask Allah for forgiveness. Yeah, we know the ayah. It's known that this is during his life. Next. Ibn Kathir has a narration that man came to the grave of Prophet and recited this ayah and asked Prophet to ask for forgiveness. Oh, and so, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. A narration that Ibn Kathir, who came 700 years after the Prophet ﷺ, and we know that Tafsir Ibn Kathir has sound narrations and weak narrations and inauthentic narrations. It doesn't mean anything. The fact that the behavior or the action of a Muslim does not make it halal or haram, does not make it permissible or impermissible. You don't go and ask Rasulullah of anything. Did the Sahaba do that? Forget about this man who came, I don't know how many years. Did the Sahaba do that? And is it authentically attributed to them? No, Habibi, you will not find that. Now, Yalla, guys, we're way over the budget. Is it permissible to memorize the Quran from last chapter to Fatiha? You memorize Juz' 30 and then, yes, of course, you can memorize the Quran in whichever way you like to memorize. You can memorize the Quran in whichever way you want to memorize. Can you give an Islamic motivation for Muslims who are writing exams? You're writing the exams or you're doing exams? Writing exams meaning you're authoring them. Anyways, I think you want me to give you a reminder. Well, the reminder is the 5 P's. The 5 P's are proper preparation prevents poor performance. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. Part of your preparation is relying upon Allah, seeking Allah's blessings, making dua, being dutiful to your parents, being kind, and so on and so forth. All of these are means for Allah to support you in everything, including your exams. And prepare, study. Don't waste your time. Don't squander your time doing nonsense and wait till the last minute to try to squeeze in everything. It just doesn't work this way. You have to be prepared throughout the semester, throughout the school year, to be ready for the exams. That's what I'm saying. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. Right. With this, inshallah ta'ala, we will conclude. If you guys have more questions that you want to be answered, which we failed in answering because of time restrictions, do join us tomorrow, inshallah ta'ala, in our Aqidah class, which is around the same time as today. And also, please make sure that you share those videos with your loved ones and you invite other people to attend. And you get your share of good deeds by making sure that this knowledge is available to the Muslims who speak English in the English language world. And may Allah Azza wa Jal give us sincerity and forgive our shortcomings and sins. Jazakumullahu khairan. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.